minds and hearts and souls that we all are created by one and he is a God. اور ہمیں مختلف چیزوں سے ہم جو ہے وہ کرتے ہیں. بھائی چارہ کمیونٹی آرگنائز کر رہے ہیں ہم اسی بنیاد پہ کہ ہم مذہبی رواداری کے فروغ کے لیے, انسانی قدروں کے لیے, اور محبت اس وقت تک ہو نہیں سکتی جب تک آپ قربانی نہیں دیتے, آپ میں دینے کا جذبہ نہیں ہوتا. آپ محبت کے بغیر کچھ بھی دے سکتے ہیں, لیکن آپ محبت جو ہے, یو کین ناٹ لو وداؤٹ گیونگ سم تھنگ, یو کین گیو وداؤٹ لو. اور یہ ایسا خدا کا طے شدہ نظام ہے کہ سب کچھ اس نے ہمیں دیا ہے. سانسیں, ہمیں اگلے لمحے کا پتہ نہیں ہے کہ ہمارے ساتھ کیا ہوگا. اور جتنے بھی سینٹس آئے ہیں, بابا گرو نانک اور صوفیزم میں شاہ لطیف بٹائی اور باقی بہت سارے, یہ خدا نے ان کو ایک مقصد کے لیے بنایا تھا, مقصد کے لیے یوٹیلائز کیا تھا. اور شکر ہے کہ ہم خدا کے بنیادی طور پہ, اور پھر خدا نے ان کے ذریعے جو ہم تک پہنچایا مقصد, اور پھر ہم جو آگے اپنی جنریشنز کو کنورٹ کر رہے ہیں, کیونکہ یہ ہماری obligation ہے کہ we have to convert the true message in a true spirit with full love, with full devotion and with full dedication. We have to. اور میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ جو اسٹرگل سیکریفائسز کے ساتھ, اور جو اسٹرگل ایمانداری کے ساتھ ہوتی ہے, وہ یقیناً سکسیس دیکھتی ہے. اسٹرگل اور سیکریفائسز برنگز دا سکسیس. اور میں یقین رکھتا ہوں کہ پوری دنیا میں جتنے بھی لوگ دل سے, کسی ایجنڈے سے نہیں, دل سے خدا کو اپنا ایک نجات دہندہ مان کے, خدا کو اپنا کریٹر مان کے آگے کام کر رہے ہیں, یا ہم ایک دوسرے سے مل ملاپ کر رہے ہیں, تو یہ ہم سکھوں کو عزت نہیں دے رہے, یہ ہم ہندوؤں کو عزت نہیں دے رہے, مسیحوں کو نہیں دے رہے, یہ مسلمانوں کو نہیں دے رہے. یقین کریں ہم اس کو عزت دے رہے ہیں جو ہمارا خالق ہے, وہ خدا ہے. اور یقیناً جب ہم خدا کے سامنے یہ ساری چیزیں کرتے ہیں, رکھتے ہیں اور دل سے کرتے ہیں, تو پھر یقیناً ہم ریفرنس دیکھتے ہیں تو ہمیں بابا گرو نانک جی کے ریفرنس نظر آتے ہیں جو محبت کے ہیں, محبت سے بھرے ہیں. شاہ لطیف بٹائی کے جو محبت سے اور روح سے انہوں نے دیے ہیں وہ بھرے ہیں. اور اسی طرح مقدس تھوما کے اور مقدس مائیکل کے, اور بے شمار ہمارے ہندو کمیونٹی کے اور جوئش میں بیٹھے, یہ سارے لوگ جو انسان ہیں, اور یہ اسپرٹ ہیومینٹی فرسٹ جو ہے ہم سمجھتے ہیں کہ ہماری ہونی چاہیے. ہیومینٹی فرسٹ اگر ہوگی تو ڈیفینیٹلی ہر کمیونٹی جو ہے اس کو ہم کور کریں گے. جس طرح شاہ صاحب نے کہا ایک بکا بنائیں گے. بکا یہ آلریڈی خدا نے بنا دیا ہے, ہم انسانوں نے کیا کہ اس کو تقسیم کیا ہے, لیکن جو خدا کے لوگ ہیں, آپ کی طرح کے جو خدا کی اہمیت کو سمجھتے ہیں, وہ اس بکے کو پھر یونائٹ کر رہے ہیں. اور یہ ہماری خوش قسمتی ہے. دس از اے بلیسنگ آن اس ایز اے ہیومن بینگ کہ خدا ہمیں نیک کام کے لیے, محبت کے لیے, امید کے لیے, پراسپیرٹی کے لیے, پیس کے لیے, اس دنیا میں جہاں پر مٹیریلسٹک اپروچ ہے لوگوں کی, وہاں پہ خدا استعمال کر رہا ہے. میں ایک دفعہ پھر شکریہ ادا کرتا ہوں. بابا گرو نانک جی کی برتھ ڈے بھی آپ کو مبارکباد کہتا ہوں, اور شاہ عبداللطیف بٹائی کے بھی برتھ ڈے آپ کو مبارکباد کہتا ہوں اپنی طرف سے, اپنی کمیونٹی کی طرف سے, اور بھائی چارہ کمیونٹی کی طرف سے. آپ تمام کا بہت بہت شکریہ کہ آپ نے مجھے برداشت کیا.
Bye. Well, I believe that those of us who stayed this long are the most thirsty. And I do know this truth, which is that the longing to taste truth is not something that can be generated by the intellect or by the will or by thought. But the great master Jalaluddin Rumi said, the evidence of prayers answered is the increased longing in the heart to know truth. So those of us who've remained all this time, we are the ones who are blessed with this longing. So let me begin with thanking the one that brings us together, the one that said to the doctor, please say yes, to which he said yes. To my brother, the one who said, please say yes, and you said yes. To the one when he created all of our souls, and he said, am I not your Lord? And all of our souls said yes. To the one that we want to remember. We want to remember that communion. We are called into this birth in a strange way to remember where we came from. We're called into this birth to remember where we came from. How strange is that? That God created us to remember Him. He was one without multiplicity, and He was a hidden treasure wanting to be known. And because He wanted to be known, He created a creature that could know Him. And so He created us with a purpose. Because He was one, He remains one, He is one, and one means one. So, Guru Nanak said, because he did what God said you're supposed to do. See? Guru Nanak did what God told all of us to do. He found the hidden treasure loving to be known. And he did it by the method in which God said to do it, which was the one who knows himself will know his Lord. So he discovered himself, and if you study him, you'll see he very rarely talked about himself. Because this is how he identified himself. I'm quoting Guru Nanak. I am not born. How can there be either birth or death for me? He found the immortality of his soul and had relinquished his identity to the things that change. He found the immortality of his soul and relinquished attachment to everything that changed. So he did what God told all of us to do. So we come together to remind ourselves that this is the highest achievement of human beings. Modern man, and I say this with the prejudice of gender, has developed the technology to control the natural world and is using it in the service of greed and fear, melting the polar ice cap, and developing weapons of mass destruction, which, if between India and Pakistan were to be used, would so destroy the climate of the whole planet that human civilization would end. This is what our intellects are doing in the service of fear and greed. Hazrat Shah Latif Sain says, use wisdom to melt the heart. Because if you look carefully at the teaching of all the Sufi Auliya, or all the Christian Auliya, or the gurus in the Sikh tradition, they place the central activity for becoming human not in the intellect, not in the mind, not in the emotions, not in anything that can change, but in the secret of the heart. What is the secret of the heart? It's very, very close to the secret of the breath. Because in both instances, it's the part of our body that is doing to us. Are you breathing, or are you being breathed? Are you causing your heart to beat, or is your heart being beaten by a great drummer? If you think deeply about it, and you go deeply into your physical body, you'll realize that the physical body itself is being sustained by some power beyond the physical body. And if you care about your physical body, you will have gratitude for having a physical body. And in that doorway of gratitude, one finds the same doorway of peace, because you can't have gratitude and hatred at the same time. In the doorway of gratitude, you find the doorway of love. That's what's inside of gratitude. And in the doorway of love is the light of God. And in the light of God is the discovery that the fish lives in the ocean and the water lives inside the fish. So we are like the fish living in the ocean, looking for the water. That's our condition. And to some extent, the life in the dunya is the fisherman taking us out of the water and saying, see what it's like? And we're saying, no, we want to go back in the water. So God took 100 people and he took them all to hell. 90 of them said, it's great, we're used to it. Anger, falsehood, jealousy, desire after desire. I got this, I want this. I want a car, I want a better car. I want children, I want more children. I want my children to go to the best college. I want a job, I want a better job. I want more God, I want more spirituality. I want whatever, more. And we're used to this, we'll stay here. Betrayal, sadness, sickness, old age, death. Well, we're used to this, we'll stay here. Then there were 10 more. He took all 10 of them to heaven. 9 of them said, oh my God, this is the plenitude of the azma of Allah. This is the plenitude of God's grace. We'll stay here. Then there was one crazy person. God said, I took you to hell. You didn't want it. I took you to heaven. You liked it, but you didn't want to stay. What do you want? And that crazy person said, I want you. I don't want anything you've created. Guru Nanak said, I am not born, I don't die. I am not created, nor can I perish. There's only one thing like that, and that is God. And all Sufis know this secret. Because the secret of Sufism is to die before you die. What dies? Can the soul die? Of course not. Can God die? Of course not. And God is one. One means one. That's what they're all telling us. The context will be different. The language will be different. And it should be, because everything in space and time changes. So, I mean, if you're trying to get to Chicago from New York, you say go west. If you're trying to get to Chicago from Los Angeles, you go east. So the idiots say, you always have to go west to find Chicago. And the other idiots say, you always have to go east to find Chicago. So some people say, you have to pray looking this way, or pray looking that way. But what did Hazrat Muhammad, may blessings be upon him, say? Wherever you look is the face of God. And if you don't see that, you're seeing double. And what are the ethics that they teach us? What are the ethics they teach us? They teach us the ethics that every single human being... we find it in Quran. So in Quran it says, from a man and a woman I made the peoples amongst you. Why? So that you would come to know one another, right? And then he says, and the best amongst you is the one with the most taqwa. Taqwa is untranslatable, right, Professor? It's a sense of awe, immanence, piety, of the presence of God, a consciousness of the presence of God. This is not the best you can get in English. English is not as subtle as other. It's sort of it's a language that came from lots of languages. It doesn't come from the heart of poets and revealed scripture. So, the best amongst you is the one with the most sense of the presence of God. And then God speaks in the first person and says, I am all awareness and all knowing. He doesn't say, I know everything and I'm aware of everything. He literally says, I am the awareness and knowing. And the section where it says that the people amongst you, the term is arif, which means to realize, not to know as an object. But by this I mean like this. There's something inside of our eyes that sees, but you can't see it. We know there's something that sees, but you can't see what sees. There's something in your hands that touches, but you can't touch it. Can you touch what touches? No. More importantly, there's something inside of our hearts that knows, that has meaning. It's alive, but you can't know it as an object. But the Sufis tell us we can realize it with illallah, because it happens to be one. That the same thing knowing, so Allah says, I am actually that awareness, that feeling, awareness, and sight, and sound, and touch of every single living being. That's the inner meaning. That's the Sufi meaning. And the ethics that come from that are that such a person would treat all lives as their own life. And that's what Guru Nanak did. And that's what every Sufi Auliya did. Now, I had the privilege of living with Baba Muhyiddin. And he treated everyone as himself. And through that melting heart of oneness, all consciousness was open to him. And he said, when I'm here, God's not here. When God's here, I'm not here. So he told a story. It's a story. There's stories that was probably an apocryphal because it's a wisdom story of Hazrat Latif Sain, in which he's called before an imam who's critical of his failure to practice Sharia appropriately all the time. And he says, we'll go to prayers. And so the saint says, you lead the prayers. You know the story, right? So the prayers begin, and people bow down in namaz. The imam leads, and the saint continues standing. And afterwards, the imam says, "What were you doing?" He said, "Well, I was waiting for you to start the prayers." He said, "Well, we just did the prayers." He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Well, not from where I was sitting, because when you were praying, you were actually thinking about your job. You were thinking about getting a better job. And the guy next to me, he was thinking about his girlfriend, how he wants to marry her. And the guy over here was thinking about whether he's going to sell his wheat at a high price. So I was waiting for everyone to finish to start praying." Because I lived with somebody for whom everyone's heart was transparent. And I asked Baba, how do you do this? This is what he said. He said, if you have thrown out your ego mind and your attachment to the ego mind, and your heart is completely filled with the melting love and compassion of God, then everyone's experience is open to you. But you have to be willing to suffer their suffering as your suffering, and their joy as your joy. Now that is the highest human achievement, because that's moving from love of self to selfless love. Because God has no self, because God has no other, because God is one. One means one. Doctor, are there any people that don't need vitamin A? No. Right. Everyone needs vitamin A. So, now you can get vitamin A in a carrot, you can get vitamin A in a pumpkin. There's lots of ways you can get vitamin A, but the purpose is to get vitamin A. That's the why. The how could be quite different. So the Prophet Muhammad said, every people on the planet have been given this message. What is this message that he's referring to? So I was thinking about it. So I was recently with a fabulous interfaith initiative where we went to Greenland to see the melting of the polar ice cap. And then from there, we went to St. Francis, a saint. He was a Sufi saint, as far as I can see. St. Francis' tomb to extol the importance of melting the heart. But when I was in Greenland, and we had Salman Chisti's part of this group, our dear brother from Ajmer. We had Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, rabbis, etc. at the shrine of this Auliya, Allah, St. Francis. But I was thinking, so people in only the religion of Islam, but not Iman Islam, not the state of Islam, would say everyone has to fast from sunrise to sunset. That's the universal message. But we were up at the North Pole. So that would mean those people, if that was the message, would only have one Ramadan. That'd be it. 4 months of fasting? You can't make it. So that couldn't be the message. That might be the how in a particular circumstance, but the why is where the message is. The why is the fasting so you would feel the suffering and hunger of others and have compassion. That's the why. The why is universal. If you're in California to get to Chicago, you say you go east. If you're here, you say you go west. The why is what's important. We live in a time of the forgotten why. So we have law without justice, medicine without healing, financial systems without goods and services, religion without love and transcendence, weapons without security. People have forgotten the why. What is our job? We have to become the why. The why is to become fully human. And that's what the examples of the Sufi saints are. I lived with one Baba Muhammadin, so I know what a real human being looks like. And I've seen a few others. But what they told me, every one of them said, you have to see me in everyone you see. In other words, every mother here knows that experience of seeing the divine when they suffer so much and the baby is born and you are willing to give up everything for that light in that child's eyes. That kind of love. But to have that kind of love for everyone. And you can't get that from outside. You can't. Because we're all a pain in the neck to one another. But from inside, we can. And the best thing we can do for one another is to remind each other of this inherent divine dignity that lives inside of us. This is what's been forgotten. So we live in a time in which people love things and use people. We have to love people and use things. And the first thing you have to use is yourself. And realize that everything that is born and dies in your possession or that is part of you is a thing. The body, your wealth, your identity, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, these are things. They come into being and they disappear. But the luminosity of the soul is not a thing. The thing that sees that you can't see. All right? We're looking at each other, right? There's something a miracle's happening. We're seeing each other. This thing that sees, you can't see it. What a miracle. What would it be worth? What would you give for that? How much money would you pay? And there's no blind person here. So, how much money would you pay for sight? For touch? For breathing? We're extremely wealthy people. Extremely wealthy. And we're ingrates. We're just ingrates. So the Sufi says every breath is a time of prayer. Every breath is a time of prayer. Only God. It's God's grace. It's His gift. And if you do that, you start to sift yourself. What allows you to do that? When you're angry, when you're anxious, when you're prideful, when you have desire, this remembrance is impossible. All right? I mean, you can look at a most beautiful sunset, and if you have those qualities, there's no beauty in the sunset. But then reside in your inherent peacefulness. Reside in your inherent gratitude. Reside in your inherent loving kindness. And then look at a sunset. And then look at your own breathing. And then look at your own vision and sight and sound. And then look within yourself. And you realize you're a miracle. And then what happens is the gratitude increases, the loving kindness and compassion increases, and the evidence of loving kindness is feeling the suffering of others. The evidence of that is caring for others and bringing it into action. The evidence of bringing it into action is a clear conscience. That's what clears your conscience, is by acting in your highest qualities. The evidence of a clear conscience is inner peace. The evidence of inner peace is wisdom, and wisdom is able to remember God. And the evidence of wisdom is gratitude and grace. And then surrender. So may we be called in the most beautiful way to serve the thing that Guru Nanak served, that all the saints of Allah have served, they never served themselves. They all served one. They didn't have any fear. They didn't have any hesitation. They didn't have any pride. They didn't have any arrogance. All they had was love and freedom. So today, we're honoring two men who did that. I'm testifying that I saw someone, I lived with somebody who did it, so I know that it's true, and I read the stories of these. I said, I met someone who did this. There's a shrine of Baba's outside of Philly. Many people here have gone there. But the point is, every one of them says, this is the shrine. This is where he has to come. This is where he lives. So we come together to remind ourselves, not to praise them, but to praise the one they served. We go to shrines to remind ourselves. And we're born in this world because he said, I'm a hidden treasure loving to be known. May we become the people that find that hidden treasure, because if we do, we will then ourselves be the witnesses. We'll make Shahada. We'll be the witnesses of the why.
Amen.
May we become that. All praises are to that one great mystery, beyond name and form, with many names and no form, that gives us our time together, that called our brothers to say yes, and they said yes. May we say yes. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen.
Thank you. I would like to now present a chadar, which is a tradition of paying respects to our saints, from one Darbar-e-Auliya in Sindh, Shah Latif Sain shrine, to another great darbar in Kartarpur, and I would like Sayyid Waqar Shah Sahib to present the chadar to our brothers in faith. Waqar bhai,
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
ये दोबारा भी वीडियो बनाते हाँ
Waqar bhai, आपकी दुआ. And this is a chadar that I'd like to present to you from the Auliya Council. ये हमारी लाल साईं के दरबार की चादर है,
जी जी जी
जो हम हर साल वहाँ चढ़ाते हैं. और ये वहाँ की मस्क की भी चादर है. और ये गुरु नानक साहब के दरबार के लिए जब आपका जाना हो करतारपुर, आपने वहाँ जाके ये हमारी तरफ से चादर डाली.
इंशाअल्लाह कभी मौका मिले इसके लिए दुआ भी करिए. चलिए दुआ भी आप
चादर आपने उनकी समाधि पे डाल दी.
दीदी जरा फोटो
Wow.
Oh,
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Wow.
ये चादर है लाल साईं की. जब मेहंदी चढ़ती है, जो हिंदू कम्युनिटी लेके आती है चादर, जब उनकी मेहंदी चढ़ती है उर्स से 2 दिन पहले, 2-3 days before the urs, this is the chadar that they put there.
who made it?
They're artisans.
That's
and
This is
Mohammedan
In New
industries.
York.
No,
in
Pakistan.
this is made in Seven Sharif.
and by the Hindu community.
By the Hindu. Brought from Pakistan to be taken to Pakistan.
Exactly.
Through me.
Exactly.
We have a picture of the other one also. I will take a picture.
मेरे पास है ना तुम्हें forward
In the end, I would like to thank you all and pray to Almighty God, who has blessed us to follow His path, the path of truth, the path of humanity. May His prayers always be with us. May we always have strength to speak the truth and always stand in front of the false world and the false people. May God help us to connect ourselves with the humanity, with His creation, with all the religions, with all the people, with the whole world He has created. May He help us to be wise enough to thank Him for all the blessings He has given. May we remember that we are breathing. A message has been sent every second by Him to us. He remembers us. May we thank for all those breaths we are taking. And may we all be together always, and may we stand together on the path of Sirat-e-Mustaqim, on the path of truth. May we all be together, and may He bless us always. Ameen Summa Ameen.
I think next conference should be in Kartarpur.
मैं सिर्फ अभी जो चादर दी गई इनायत की गई है उससे मुझे याद आ गया भी कुछ दिन पहले मैं डेरा बाबा नानक गया जो कि गुरु नानक देव जी करतारपुर के सरहद पर है और वहाँ पर चोला साहब गुरुद्वारा है। गुरु नानक देव जी का चोला है जो कि उन्हें दिया गया था शायद मक्का में, जिसके ऊपर कुरान की आयतें लिखी हुई हैं। वो मैंने खुद उसको वहाँ पर देखा। आज जब ये चादर देख करके मुझे वो याद आ रही है, शायद वैसा ही कुछ मुकाम। शुक्रिया।
दरवेशी सिलसिला चल रहा है तब।
Thank you. We'll meet again, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Oh, very
बड़ा अच्छा लगा।
कादरी शेख थे तो वो उधर पाकिस्तान में So ये is the first ever dargah. My only dargah. The US is very close to जगह चाहिए होती है तो आई थिंक
Yeah, you must go there. Yeah, right now. वो आपके लिए